In this video, we are going to start with the last two rules. Means currently last two rules are remaining. One is castling and second is en passant. So in this video, I'm going to cover the castling rule. And once we finish the castling, there will be only last rule remaining in chess, that is en passant. So let's start with the castling. Now, before just understanding the castling, I just want to tell you one thing which is actually important. See, first of all, we must know what is the castling, what the castling is all about. So before moving towards the castling, I want to just repeat this piece which I personally feel like it's the easiest piece on the board, and that's the king. See, normally when you're moving the king moves only one step in all directions. So this is the normal movement of the king. But while doing the castling, actually the king moves two steps at the same time. So we can even say that castling is an exception for the king's movement. Now, why castling is so important? How to do the castling? What are the conditions when the castling will not be allowed? All these 3 points I'm actually going to cover in this video. So let's begin. So for that, I just want to again cover up some important aspects, like how people have to, or how people follow the things, or how you have to control the center of the board. Then what kind of pieces you have to move, where you have to move the pieces. So some of the important aspects about playing chess I need to cover first, and then I will be moving towards the castling concept. So let's start. I need to arrange the chessboard again entirely, so I'm just arranging the board here. Let me make it full screen. Yeah. So here I have arranged this chessboard. Now, usually what you have to do, first of all, starting with again very important concept. It's not actually the concept I can say, but it's the thing which we need to follow in almost every game we will be playing, or we are playing. So on the in the game, or on the chessboard, you can see that these four squares, like e4, e5, d4, and d5, these four squares are considered as center of the chessboard. So this is the center of the chessboard. Now, why center is so important in chess? So let's try to understand that first. See, it's like we are in the beginning only, when I was introducing you with the chess. Then that time only I told you that it's a battle between two sides. Like, you, if you're playing from white side, then you have to consider that you are the king on that side, and if you're playing from black side, then you have to consider you are the king on that side. So it's being a battlefield. If you want to control all sides of the chessboard, all the corners of the chessboard, then it's very important. Sorry, it's very important that you must be having control over the center of the board. Now, if you are having good control over the center of the board, then you can even say like you will be having good control over the entire chessboard, because your pieces will be able to travel in all directions, or you will be able to control all sides of the board in proper way. So that's very important to understand before starting the castling. So this is about the center of the board. We must be having good control over the center of the board to have control over the entire chessboard. Now, how to control the center? Now, it comes like, it's not a very easy thing, but I will try to just tell you in easy way. Like, if you notice uh, any grandmaster playing chess, or any world championship game, or in any opening, like basics about the openings are actually meant to control the center of the board. So most of the people in the world, they try to start their game with the king's pawn or with the queen's pawn. So the reason is actually the same, that they want to control the center. It is not considered as moving the rook's pawn or the knight's pawn as like a very good move in the opening. So yeah, sometimes people play pawn g3 or pawn b3 to open their bishops like this. But again, the basic idea is the same. Like, they put their bishop on b2 to control the central squares, to have long diagonal. So ideally, it comes again towards the center control only. So that's actually very important thing. And now in this video, I'm not going to focus like how you have to develop the pieces, but Just I'm giving basic idea because we must know why we have to do the castling. So I'm going to cover the castling in three different points. Point number one, why do we have to do it? Point number two, how we have to do the castling. And point number three, the conditions when castling is not allowed. So let's start with point number one. Why do we need to do castling in the game? So as I said, we must try to control the center of the board. And if we want to control, if we want to control the center of the board, just a moment. Sorry, I had to turn on my laptop charger. So yeah, I was explaining that if you want to control the center of the board, then basically we have to start the game. In most of the cases, again, we have to start the game with the king pawn or with the queen pawn. So I'll make some random moves on the board, and it's not like I'm following any particular opening. Its purpose is not to actually follow any particular opening, but yeah, let's say I'll just try to make some random moves on the board, and we don't have to just focus in the like background behind the moves, like why I'm doing that, what is there any better move than that. Actually, I'm just explaining the castling right now. So suppose white plays this move, black starts with e5, white develops its knight to f3, let's say black plays its knight to c6, and then bishop to c4, bishop to c5, knight c3, knight f6, then let's say pawn d3, pawn d6. So I'm just making identical moves from both sides, and again, it's not a game going on. I'm just making some random moves to understand why we actually have to do the castling in the game. So let's say bishop to g5, black plays, let's say bishop d7, white moves its queen to d2, and black moves its queen to e7. Yeah, some of the moves I have just done are not really a very good, like are not very good moves, but yeah, that's fine. It's just we have to understand, like for example, here, if anyone actually having good knowledge in chess and watching this video, then they can say like, here a knight to d5 is going to be a very nice move to attack the knight and attack the king. But yeah, I'm not moving in that depth right now, not even required. We are just learning the castling. So let's see what we have to actually do. Like when we open the pieces in the beginning first moves, we actually try to push the pawns in front of our king or the queen, and because of that reason, actually the pawn cover in front of the in front of the king actually is not very good. Like pawns are moved ahead and the king is kind of unsafe over here, means on the e1 or d1 squares. So we have to make sure that our king is safe. As I already told you, the king needs to be very safe in the game. That is the most important piece on the board. So for that purpose, we have to do the castling. So it's important to understand why do we need to do castling in game, and just only one reason come across it, that we must do castling to make our king safe. All right, so this is the first thing, or the first point I have covered, that we have to do castling for the safety of our king. Now the same thing is even applicable for the black side. Like black must do its castling because black also has pushed its pawn in front of the king. There is no pawn cover in front of the king, and that's the reason like black must do its castling to save its king, or to make its king more safe or safer. So yeah, that's the reason. Now how do we have to do castling when we are playing a game? How we need to do castling? Now when we are playing a game, castling, now let's try to understand the point number two. Castling is possible between the king and the rook only. You cannot do castling with queen, means king cannot do castling with the queen. King cannot do castling with the bishop. King cannot do castling with the knight. King cannot do castling with the pawn. That's very important thing. So castling is only possible between king and rook. So that's point number one. Like yeah, king can do castling with the right side rook as well, and even it can do castling with the left side rook. Even you can consider the sides as queen side or king side castling as well. Means here, if you consider the side on the king, then this side you can say like it's the king's side, and this side like currently on the left and right we can say, but actually for the black it will be different. So on the chessboard, we can just divide the sides of the board, or we can divide the chessboard in two different sides. One we can say like king side, and second we can say queen side. So basically castling is possible on the king side and also on the queen side. Now how we have to do it? Let's learn it on the king side first, and then we will do it on the left side, means on the queen side. So just see here, while doing castling, you have to skip one square, means don't place your king here. You have to skip one square and put your king into the next square, means your king will be directly going to the g1 square, and that said rook will be going into the skipped square, the square which you have skipped. So again, I'm explaining, you just have to skip one square. The king will be going into the next square, and that side rook will be going into the skipped square. So this is the way you have to do the castling. Now again, the same thing will be on the left, but yeah, sometimes people get confused like how we have to do castling on left, and the confusion is just because there are more number of squares between the king and rook. So you can just follow the same definition, or the same wordings which I was just using for the right side or for the king side castling. The same thing you can do on the left. You just have to skip one square, skip this square, and move your king on the next square of it, and that side rook will be going into the skipped square. So yeah, that's how easy it is. Like this is the way you can just make your castling, and that's it. So now again, if you want to do castling on the right side, you can just place your king to g1 and rook to f1. This is the way you will be doing castling. And now in this position, if you want to do castling with the left rook or on the queen side, then you can place your king to c1, and the rook will go to d1. So this is the way you can do castling. The same thing is again applicable for the black side. If you want to do castling, like if black wants to do castling on the king side, then the same thing, skip one square, put your king into the next square, and that side rook into the skipped square. So this is the way you can just do castling for the black king as well. Like black king will go on g8, and the black rook will go in the f8 square. So this is the way again you can do castling for a black king. The same thing is applicable for the queen side castling for the black king as well. You just have to skip one square, put your king into the next square, and that side rook will go into the skip square. So yeah, this is the way again you can do castling for the black king. So I hope 2 points, I feel like you will be having no doubt in that. I have covered, I think, everything which is important in that. So we have done why castling is important. Castling is important just for the safety of your king, as in the middle of the first or eighth rank, the kings are not that much safe. So that's the reason that we have to do our castling. Now, while doing the castling, even I explained like how you have to do it. Castling is possible between king and rook only. It's not possible with the other pieces. And when you are doing the castling, you have to skip one square, and then you can place your king into the next square, and that side rook into the skipped square. Now it's like, is it castling allowed in all the situations, like anytime you can do in the game? So actually, yeah, castling you can do anytime in the game, but there are some conditions. Like there are 3 4 conditions which we need to understand to just even to do castling in the game. Like what are the conditions? Now it's the main question. Now suppose if you are playing a game and you have not done the castling, like here black side moved its queen over here, and now suppose it's the white's turn to do. Now in this position, suppose instead of doing the castling, suppose white side moves its king like it normally moves. Suppose the white king moves one step, because normally the king moves one step anywhere. So suppose the king moves to e2. Let's say black makes a random move. I'm just making black's random move here. Again, white king comes back, and black again makes another random move. All right. So now the question comes, is it allowed to do castling? Now, here actually, you can see that the king has come back on the same square where it was earlier. But still, now in this position, castling will not be allowed to do. So here it comes the first condition. Now, if you want me to just try making castlings, then see here. it's not allowing me to do castling on any side. So why it's not allowing me? Now here it's the first condition, like if you have moved your king in the game even a single time, and even if you come back on the same square, the castling will not be allowed. So you will not be able to do castling with the right side rook, and even it's not allowed to do it with the left side rook. Now just let me go back 2 moves in the situation where I have not moved the king. Now imagine I have not moved the king in the game from the beginning, and black just moved its queen here again. Now suppose white is not moving its king, but suppose white side has moved the rook. Let's say rook has come here. Again blacks make a random move. Let's say pawn a6. Again white rook moves back to h1, and again black moves its pawn to a5. Now again the question comes, like is it allowed to do castling in the game? So yeah, it's allowed to do castling in the game, but there is one condition. In this position you cannot do castling with this rook. It's not allowed to do castling with this rook. Now because you have already moved that rook, even if you are going back to the same square, castling is not allowed. Yeah, but definitely you can do castling with the left side rook here. Means you can just place your king here and the rook will come here, so that on the left side it will be allowed, but on the right side the castling will not be allowed, as you have moved the h1 rook. Now if you want me to try that as well, then see here on the right side it's not allowing me to do castling because I have moved this rook, but on the left side castling is allowed. So yeah, like these are the two important conditions. Still there are two important conditions remaining, so let me cover them. So I think first condition is easy to understand. If you want to do the castling in the game, then do not move your king. Condition number two, if you want to do castling on a particular side, then also don't move your king obviously, and also do not move that side rook. Now again one more question can come in the same condition, like what if both the rooks are moved? Like let's say here, suppose again let me go 2 moves back. Suppose black has taken the queen out. Now white has moved its rook. Again black played a random move. Again white side is moving its rook back. So obviously now the castling is not allowed with the right side rook. Now again suppose let's say black has played a move. Now again white side suppose is moving its rook. Black also plays a random move. White again takes its rook back, and again black side plays another random move. Now the question comes, is it allowed to do castling now? Then now in this position you are not allowed to do castling with any of the rooks, because you have moved both the rooks in the game. Even your king is standing as it is without having a single movement, still you will not be allowed to do castling because you have moved both the rooks. So that's why, see here, it will not be allowed, like it's not allowing me to do castling on any side. So now condition 2 is now finished. Like if you want to do the castling, then do not move your king, and also do not move that particular rook. So that's the second condition. Condition number 3, for that I'm not going to just make all the moves, but yeah, some sort of changes I'll be doing. For example, suppose uh, I'm just, yeah, this is just for understanding purpose. Yeah, I'm just keeping this position on the board. Now in this position, if you notice carefully, then black queen is actually giving a check to the white king. Now imagine you have not moved the king from the start of the game. You have even not moved your rook. Even you have not moved this rook. You have not even moved this side rook. So both the rooks are as it is. Your king has also not been moved. So now the question comes, like when you have a check, when you are having a check, is it allowed to do the castling? So again in this, you cannot do castling to remove the check. For example, like here queen is giving a check, then you are not allowed to do the castling. Yeah, you can remove the check by moving the king somewhere. But again, if you want to do castling in future in the game, then try not to move the king. Because if you move the king, then once you move the king, like you are breaking the first rule of the castling, or first condition of the castling, that you are moving the king, obviously. So if someone is giving a check, first of all, try to remove the check without moving the king. Then only you will be allowed to do castling when there is no check in future. For example, here Now suppose there is a check to the white king, black queen. Now you know what is a check. Check means attack on the king. So in this position, white king is having a check. Now the question is like whether the king can do castling, and the answer is no. So what and how white side should remove the check? Let's say white side kills the queen with the pawn. Now if the white pawn kills the queen, now let's say in the next move black makes a random move again. Bishop goes back to b6. Now in this position, is it allowed to do castling? Yeah, now it is allowed to do castling on both sides, because you have not moved your king, you have not moved any of your rooks, and also there is no check to the king. So we have done three conditions until now. Condition number one, that if you want to do castling in the game, do not move your king. If you Condition number two, if you want to do castling in the game on a particular side, then you must not move that side rook. Condition number three is that if you want to do castling, then castling will be possible, but not while having a check to your king. So if your king is having a check, first of all, remove the check without moving your king. And then if you want to do castling later on, yeah, you can do it in the game. So these are the three conditions, and just the last condition is remaining. And I have seen again, some people get confused when they are doing castling, or when they are just trying to understand the last concept. Again, for that I need to make some modifications in the position. Let's say this is the position. Now just try to understand, just try to imagine this thing. See, when we are doing castling in the game, even we are moving the king directly 2 steps, we have to understand that the king actually moves like this. Okay, like it goes here, and then this rook goes here. This all thing, or this entire thing, happens in just one move. Now in this position, the problem is that this bishop standing on c4 square is actually controlling the f1 square. That bishop standing on c4 square is controlling the f1 square. F1 square means, I can even say in a different statement, like it is controlling one square between the or of the path of the king, from where the king is actually traveling. So as that square is actually blocked, the king will not be able to pass that square or cross that square. So that's why castling is not allowed on the right side in this position. So even if you have not moved the king, even if you have not moved the rook, even there is no check to the king, you are not allowed to do castling on the right side, because that path is actually getting controlled, or that side path is actually getting controlled by opponent's piece or enemy piece. Yeah, but in this position there is no problem on the left side, like no one is controlling the d1 square, no one is controlling the c1 square. So you can take your king to c1 and make your castling, so there is no problem. Now I just want to ask you one question. Let me just again modify the position for that. Imagine the knight is standing like this on a3. Now obviously we can kill the knight or anything, but I'm not going into that question. Just you have one question, like is it allowed to do castling on the left now? Like, because this knight is controlling the b1 square, so the question is like, is it allowed to do castling on the left? So you can pause the video and again try to find out the answer. Now let's see, just few seconds ago or few minutes ago I was just explaining that you cannot do castling on the right side because the path of the king is getting controlled by the bishop. So this word is important, path of the king's path, that is the main thing. Now on the left side, if we are doing castling, then while doing castling we move the king on the c1 square, we don't take it to b1. So this knight is actually not blocking the rook's way. Means sorry, it's actually wrong thing which I just said. It's not blocking the king's way or king's path. So here on the left side there is no problem to do castling. See, still castling is allowed for the white side, because while doing the castling, the condition number 4 says that castling, like if someone from the black side is controlling the path of the king, then only castling will not be allowed. So on the left side, this knight is not controlling the squares of the squares between the path of the king. So here on the left side, the castling is allowed. So yeah, that's it about the castling. Like 4 conditions we have done. Now let me just recap all the thing. First of all, in point number 1, I explained how you have to, why we have to do castling. So castling is the move in general, like generally people do for the safety of the king, where like we consider that the king is unsafe in the middle of the rank, and that's why we should be placing it on one side where the pawn cover will be good. So you can even decide one thing, like on which side you have good pawn cover to protect your king, and on that side you can do you can decide to make your castling. So like first point, why we have to do castling. We have to do castling for the safety of the king. Not condition, sorry, it's the point number 2, is regarding how do we have to do castling. So while doing the castling, I feel like it's simple. You just have to skip one square, put your king into the next square, and that side rook will go into the skipped square. So this is the way you have to do castling. You can do castling with the rooks only, not with other pieces. Last point is conditions. Like there are 4 conditions I explained. Condition number 1, if you want to do castling, then actually you must not have moved your king. So if you once move the king, then castling will not be allowed in the game. Condition number 2, if you want to do castling on a particular side, then you must not have moved that side rook. So that's the condition number 2. Condition number 3 is like if your king is having a check, then when you are having a check, you cannot do castling to remove the check. And condition number 4 is if the path of your king is getting controlled by opponent's pieces or any of your opponent's piece, then you are not allowed to do castling. So these are the 4 conditions in the point number 3. So yeah, that's it about the castling, and there is nothing remaining. Now only one last rule is remaining that I'm going to cover in the next video, that is en pass or en passant. Like actually maybe it's the name is en passant and I may be calling it as en pass. But usually I always feel like it's important to just understand the concept, and names are not that much important. So moving ahead, now we'll meet again in the next video. So bye bye, thank you.